What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Cafecito and Canes. Thanks for being here. Before we jump into this video, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of context about it first, because lately on Twitter, there's been a lot of criticism being thrown around to all these people that are covering the team. Not all of them, but certain people covering the team, certain writers, and fans are a little mad about how the team is being depicted. They're, writing very negatively about them. Really without, clickbaity articles, without giving too much context of what the team and what Mario Cristobal's had to deal with this year as far as injuries and, new coaching staff and things like that. So, all valid. And I just want to come on here and really quick and let you guys know that's not what this video is. This is not a program bashing video. This is more of a chronicling of the last 20 years to show you guys and give you guys some context of how Miami went from a dominant powerhouse kind of year by year, how it deteriorated until, being 5-5 and, being in these tough games against teams that, we thought years ago we'd be dominating. But you know what? Here we are. And Mario's got a lot of work to do. He's got his work cut out for him. And again, this video, it's going to be a two-part series, how we got here, how we're going to get out of it kind of thing. Like I've said before, I believe in Coach Cristobal. I believe in this regime, Radakovich, Alonzo Highsmith. I believe they're going to get it right. But I think after you watch this video, at least part one, I think you're going to see just what this program has endured and why Mario has his work cut out for him. I think it's going to give it a little bit more context for you guys. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy it. I worked really hard on this part. I'm currently working on part 2 right now. And real quick, yesterday I was really impressed with the team. Let me tell you, the defense once again showed up. I'm starting to think this team is better on the road than it is at home, because we're now 3-0 in ACC games on the road, which is pretty impressive. I can't remember the last time we did that, probably 2017. And defense flew around, made plays. Cam Kinchens is that dude. He is absolutely that dude. And I can't wait to see him next year because he's only a sophomore. Jakari Brown played awesome in his first start in his home state of Georgia, so that was cool to see. Freak athlete. He definitely made some plays. Brashard Smith, Takori Couch, Tyreek Stevenson. Too many guys to name. A lot of guys stepped up and made plays yesterday. They played a complete 4-quarter game for the first time all season. It was a joy to watch and a very satisfying victory. So congrats to the boys. I don't know if I don't know if any of them will see this video, but I'm proud of you boys. Keep it up. Keep working hard. I know the tide is going to turn very soon. But with that, let's jump into the video. So I think it's safe to say Mario Cristobal's first season at Miami hasn't exactly gone according to plan. I'm filming this right now on November 11th, the eve of the Georgia Tech game. So right now Miami's sitting at 4-5, near the bottom of the ACC. And right now the signs of that lack of discipline, that lack of winning culture are still very much lingering. So I'll dive into all that in a little bit. But first, let's rewind the clock back a little bit, say, about 20 years. And let's try to figure out exactly how Miami got to this point. But before I get into that part, please do me a quick favor. Go down below, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're notified anytime I drop a new video. And obviously, like, comment, share the video. It all helps. Now, back to business. Miami right now is a bad football team. This is nothing new. We've known this. This has been going on for a while. And this has been a program that's been gradually deteriorating ever since the hire of this one, Donna Shalala. Shalala took over as the university's president back in 2001. In addition to that, right around the same time, Coach Butch Davis, the man who would help construct the greatest college football team of all time in 2001 and help lift us out of sanctions in the mid-90s, would go on to coach in the NFL with the Cleveland Browns. So obviously big changes were coming. And Donna Shalala, I believe, put that first knife into the back of the Miami football program, and really Miami athletics in general, when she adopted more of an eat-what-you-kill mentality when it came to their finances. In other words, when it came to money, Miami football and baseball and basketball and all Miami athletics were pretty much on their own. There was no extra funding or extra money or a lot of extra donations really funneled into those programs. The football and baseball program were really what put Miami on the map back in the 80s. And now UHealth, which is extremely recognizable, the U in that UHealth logo, guess what made that so recognizable? The football program. And this could not have come at a worse time, because that same year, the SEC would begin their contract with CBS, thus launching the arms race between those schools that would ensue and continue all the way into today. The landscape of college football just over the next 8 to 10 years after that would change drastically, and Miami fell way behind. Things that didn't matter much prior to 2000, such as having state-of-the-art facilities and things like that, all of a sudden mattered very much. And Miami didn't really care to do anything about it. And then after that, it was just bad head coaching hire after bad head coaching hire after bad head coaching hire. Let's start with the first coach, Larry Coker. Personally, I always liked the guy. The players loved him, the school loved him, parents loved him, and the guy was a great ambassador for the program. Not to mention his first season, won a national championship, should have won back-to-back championships. We all know what happened in 2002. The problem was he recruited too many guys that had a bunch of stars next to their names, but they didn't quite have the DNA of a Miami player. Butch Davis, 5-6 years before that, was looking for guys that were a right fit for the locker room, and guys that wanted to rebuild this program and return it to greatness. Whereas guys that Larry Coker recruited, sure, they were talented, supremely talented. Some of them even went to get drafted in the first and second round, but they were more in it for themselves than keeping Miami great. In addition to that, player development just overall started to decline year to year. From 12-0 to 11-1, 10-2, 9-3, you get it. Another big reason for the decline is not stacking talent at the quarterback position. Kyle Wright came in with all the accolades. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year in 2002, #1 recruit, #1 quarterback, 6'5", 220, rocket arm. He had all the attributes you can want. But unfortunately, as we all know, Kyle Wright did not pan out. And then Kirby Freeman comes in and was a horrible fit for this offense. I'm sure he was talented in his own right, but didn't fit what we were trying to do. And then when you don't stack guys on top of that, there's no competition to push them. You're basically stuck with those two for the next 3 to 4 years. So ultimately, after a disappointing 7-6 season in 2006, falling out of the top 10 for the first time in God knows how long, Larry Coker, one of the most liked guys in the history of the program, ends up getting fired. And instead of going out and spending money on a big name, they hire from within, and they hire an inexperienced defensive coordinator, Randy Shannon. So when they made the hire, I actually didn't hate it. But then again, I was 18 at the time, so what the hell did I know? Let me just paint you a quick picture and take you back to what was going on in 2006. First of all, this was just 5 years removed from the greatest team ever, and just 2 years removed from setting an NFL record for first-round draft picks from one school with 6, which wouldn't get broken until 2021 by Alabama. So looking back right after that dominance, you would think, Miami should be able to reel in a big fish, right? Well, they interviewed some guys. I remember Mike Leach was a prominent name in that coaching search, but that didn't work out. So they end up not wanting to spend any money, going on the cheap, and going for Randy Shannon. So Randy Shannon comes in 2007, takes the last names off the jerseys, and strips whatever personality was left in that locker room. Now, I think Larry Coker before him was starting to lose control of the locker room, so I get what he was trying to do. However, I think he went towards the other extreme. And I think the typical South Florida player, the typical Florida athlete, especially back then, I think shied away from the whole no names on the jerseys, like super disciplined, showing up to the stadium in suits and things like that. I've talked to former players from that regime, and a lot of them weren't fans of it. Not to mention, on top of that, we all had to say goodbye to the beloved Orange Bowl, our home for so many years, at the hands of Virginia, who laid into us with a 48-0 butt whooping. Honestly, 2007 was just repeated kicks to the crotch for this fan base, who honestly didn't deserve it. I mean, don't get me wrong, Coach Shannon was also a good recruiter. He brought in some talented players, but at this point, that winning culture from just a few years before was all but gone, and at this point, player development was basically in the toilet. And look, again, not to put the guy down too much, he is a former Hurricane himself, played for Miami in the 80s, great linebacker coach, great defensive coordinator, just not a head coach. So after a disappointing 7-6 season in 2010 that was filled with a bunch of hype going in, out goes Randy Shannon, in comes Al Golden. But little did he know the colossal tsunami of crap that would be coming his way with the whole Nevin Shapiro scandal. Now, at the time, I'll admit, I didn't hate this hire either. Because let's be honest, who the hell can win at Temple? Well, Al Golden can win at Temple. Because when he arrived in 2005, they went 0-12 the season before. He got them to the point where his last 2 seasons there, they won at least 8 games and took them to their first bowl game since 1979. For what he had to deal with as far as recruiting restrictions now, I thought the guy did a pretty solid job. He brought some good names in. Denzel Perriman, Philip Dorsett, Brad Kaya, Eric Flowers, Anthony Chickalo, Stacy Coley, Duke Johnson. A lot of these guys not only go on to play in the NFL, some of them are still in the league today. But again, the number one thing that plagued this program since the middle of Larry Coker's tenure was poor player development. I mean, overall it was poor. It was better than the Randy Shannon era. He churned out a few more draft picks than Randy Shannon did, but still, it was lacking something. The Canes would then institute self-imposed bowl bans in 2011 and 2012. Under any other circumstances, 2-year bowl ban, that's a huge hit that a program would take. Hell, a 1-year bowl ban is a huge hit. Why? Because rival schools negatively recruit against you. They start telling kids, oh, more's coming their way. They're not going to be able to play in a bowl game for another 5 years, for another 10 years. They're not going to be able to play on TV again. We heard a lot of that. We had to deal with a lot of that. And all for what? For this investigation that ended up being mostly a massive witch hunt. And even with all that, once the investigation was all done in 2013, Miami was able to scrape together what NFL talent they did have, rode Duke Johnson and Stephen Morris to a 7-0 start in 2013 with a signature win against Florida at home. That ended up being Al Golden's peak at Miami because unfortunately after that 7-0 start, he would end up going 12-14 the rest of his time at Miami. So Al Golden would be eventually fired in 2015 after a humiliating home loss to Clemson 58-0. In hindsight, I would say his biggest mistake was not firing his good buddy Mark D'Onofrio. He was the defensive coordinator during Al Golden's entire tenure at Miami, and he ran this slow, plodding, two-gapping style of defense where basically the defense is designed to sit on their heels and wait for the ball carrier to come to them, essentially. They were way too small and weren't physically built to run that kind of a 3-4. They needed to run more of a 4-3 speed-based attacking style defense, especially with South Florida's athletes. Unfortunately, they were too stubborn to do so, and Al Golden was out. All right, guys, so that does it for part 1 of how the hell did we get here. Next, we're going to go into 2015, the Mark Richt hire, and everything that happened after that. Until then, guys, it's all about the U. Go Canes.